Welcome to Creating Engaging Lessons using Keynote tricks. I'm Aaron Lanou, and I want to use my interest in teaching and instruction and special education and inclusive practices and visual supports and a little bit of technology to hopefully create a kind of basic introduction to creating engagement in lessons using Keynote. So a couple of goals. First of all, the primary goal is to engage students, right? The less we use text, the more we use visuals, the more things kind of animate and move and draw people's attention, the better. But really, in addition to engaging students, we also want to convey concepts in a particular way and use visuals and animation in order to do that, and also create a sense of continuity and sort of flow through a lesson. To allow students to sort of make connections from one slide to another. A couple of prerequisites for being able to do this. One, you do have to have a Mac because we use Keynote, and Keynote is a Mac-only software, but you actually can also use it on iPads and iPhones. So if you have any Apple product, you should be able to do it. And it does require some Keynote basics. So you have to know how to like open Keynote and create a new slide and sort of add an object and do some sort of basic manipulation stuff. And there's lots of ways to find out how to do some of that basic stuff online. But assuming that you want to do these things and you have these couple of little skills, then we're going to talk about how you can animate lessons using a Keynote trick called Magic Move. And Magic Move is actually the thing I've been using to create the slides so far. So anytime you've seen something sort of move around a little bit, that's been using the Magic Move effect. And essentially what Magic Move does, and what I've tried to show here, is if you have an object, text, a shape, or anything on one slide, and you want it to be on the next slide, but be kind of different. You want it to be in a different place or a different size or rotate it, but you want to keep that object on the slide. Magic Move is a great trick to do that. It will animate kind of smoothly and naturally an object, text, shape from one slide in your presentation to the next slide in your presentation, as long as there's the same object across those two slides. So it'll look something like this. Right? So students won't know that you've gone between two slides, but you'll know, oh, I went from one slide to the next, and the star was over here in the first one, and over there in the second one. And Keynote takes care of the moving by magic. So I want to X out of this sort of presentation mode here and actually talk through how to do it. Here are my couple of slides I've shown you so far, but I want to kind of walk through the basics of how to do it. Again, the idea is that it takes an object across two slides and sort of does something with it, animates it from one place or state in one slide to a different one in the other slide. So we'll need to have a couple of slides, and here's just a couple of blank slides here, 5 and 6, and we'll put some objects on slide 5. We'll make sure the same objects are on slide 6, and we'll turn on Magic Move and see what the end result is. So one way I think it's really helpful to use Magic Move is to kind of maybe show like multiple parts on one slide and then zoom in to one of those parts on the next slide. So let's say we're giving students some directions and we want them to read something and then think about it and then write something. So we want all those directions to be on the first slide. I'm going to do this pretty quickly, but again, should be pretty basic. All of the tools here are using everything built into Keynote. So I'm going to use this object menu here. I'm going to look for a book. Let's say it's this book. And I want to change the color. So I'm going to go to the formatting and make it pink. Nah, I'm going to make it blue. Why not? Make it a little bit bigger like that. Okay. And the first thing we want them to do again is to read. So I'm just going to add some text. It'll say read. And I'm going to make it a little bigger just for our purposes here. Okay. Boom. Did that work? It did not. I'm going to try again. I'm going to make it bigger now. Okay. But we want them to read, then write, think, then write. So I got to have a little cue for thinking here. Think. Okay, a brain, that'll work. Make it about the same size as the book. And this one, I want to make pink. And I'm going to duplicate that text so I get the same style and make this think. And then I want them to write. So I'll grab a pen or a pencil. That's a good pencil right there. And it'll be yellow. I'll make it a little bigger. I'll put it right here. Okay. And here's a little tip. If you want to rotate it, I want to rotate a little bit. You can hold down the Command key on your Mac, and the little arrow turns to a little arc. And you can kind of drag it like that. So you can angle it. And again, I want this text here. I duplicate it, move it right here, and go right. Okay, so here are 3 directions: read, think, write. But I want to zoom in on that read part and show them what they're expected to do when they read. So what I'm going to do is, there's a couple ways to do this, but for our purpose, I'm going to select the book image and the read. I'm going to copy it, Command C, or you can go edit, copy. And on this next blank slide, I'm going to paste it, right? Remember, objects have to be more or less the same. A same object has to be on multiple slides for Magic Move to do its work. Now, right now, on slide 5, read is right here and the book is right here. Slide 6, it's in the exact same place. But because I want to zoom in, let's say I want this read image to be a lot bigger. I'm going to make this a lot bigger. I'm actually move read over, and I can even make the text bigger if I want to. Let's call it that. All right. And then I want to give some details about what I want them to read. So, or how I want them to read, what I want them to pay attention to. So I might say, do this, and this, and that. These aren't real directions, but you get the idea. I want to zoom into this read part, right? So now I have one slide that has a blue book and the word read. I have another slide that has a blue book and the word read, even though they're in slightly different positions, sizes, and so forth. If I click the first image, the first slide, and I go to animate, and under transitions, add an effect, Magic Move, gives me a preview of what it's actually going to look like. I'm going to show that again. I'm going to click the preview and show you what it looks like. It's going to take any object that exists on slides 5 and 6 and just create a little smooth animation between the state that they're in slide 5 and the state that they're in slide 6. Right? Pretty nice. If I want to slow that down, I can change this duration in the transition setting here. So if I want it to take 5 seconds or 6 seconds, click preview. And it's really dramatic. And hopefully it'll catch students' attention by then. Or if I want to really slow it down and I just want the continuity, but it doesn't have to take that long, I can just make it 1 second. I'll click preview. Whoop, good, right? So it just created some continuity between these zoomed out details and the zoomed in details here. There's so many other uses for this. I'll show you one other for if you have, let's say you're teaching character motivation. So you have like a person that represents a character right here. And let's change that to this. And let's say the character wants something or something the character is after, and I'm just going to represent that by a diamond. So again, now I have slide 7 here has a couple of objects, and I want to transition some elements of those objects between slides to create some kind of motion, right? So I'm going to select both of these again and copy. Go to the next slide, slide 8, and paste. And then I'll play around with what I want these to look like here. I want the character maybe to be closer to the diamond and the diamond to be even bigger because the character has reached their goal or something, right? The character is trying to reach their goal. So again, same objects on slide 7 and 8. And all I have to do to use Magic Move is click the first of the 2 slides And under the animation menu up here, under transitions, I go add an effect, magic move, and it'll give me a preview. That's what the transition will look like. The character will move over and the diamond will grow. And again, I can do the same things. I can slow this down if I want it to be really impactful. I'll make it 8 seconds long. Click preview to see what it looks like. The character's walking over and the diamond's getting bigger, and oh, look, the character is approaching what they want and they're so excited, right? Or I could slow it down, again, if it's not necessary, if it's better to show that impact more quickly. Right? So I'm going to go into presenting mode, and I'll just show what these 4 slides that we just created together look like. I'm going to go back to slide 5. I'm going to actually play the slideshow, and this is what the students would actually see. So today, you're going to read, and then think, and then write. First, let me tell you about what you're going to do when you read. Right? So I clicked, and it zoomed into the book and that word read, and now I can add more details, whatever I want. It's just about this read section. Or we're doing a lesson on character motivation, and we know this character really wants something. What does the character do? What decisions do they make when they have something they really, really want? And what happens when they achieve that thing that they really want? I have a couple other pre-made examples here that I thought might be just interesting to show, and I'll show these in presenting mode. So you have a bunch of objects that are all sort of jumbled up in a different order, and you want to create some sense of order. Again, as long as you have those same objects on 2 different slides, it's just a matter of arranging them, and Magic Move will animate that transition from one slide to the next. Good to show maybe organization, categorization, going from sort of disorder to order. There's lots of things you could do with that when you're teaching. Here's another example. Let's say you're doing a science lesson or a math lesson about scale, bigger, smaller, things like that. And you have the moon and the earth, and you ask students which one is bigger, the moon or the earth. And hopefully they respond, and you can show them, yeah, the earth is a lot bigger than the moon. The moon is smaller than the earth. Again, same objects, 2 different slides, and just a matter of sizing them differently. And then sometimes just a practical thing, you want to kind of move items around. So let's say you're teaching how to find the average, and you want to remind students you have to add, and then you divide. Sometimes your students get that mixed up, add, and then divide. I've moved these on the next slide just to create some space. So they'll move up and out of the way, and then you actually paste a problem in there for students to solve, but they have that reminder of the visual that you taught them of how to perform that task. Add and then divide, and it just sort of shrinks and moves out of the way. And again, I'll show what these look like. Here's the disorder to order using Magic Move. Here's moon and earth the same size to closer to their actual relative size. And here's add and divide. And then on the next slide, just smaller and moved up. And all of that is just through clicking the first slide and over in this animation menu under transitions, making sure you use Magic Move. I wanted to do that in 5 minutes, and then I thought, oh, maybe 9 minutes, but we just hit the 14-minute mark. But I hope that was helpful. I'm going to include a link to download this actual Keynote document in the description below, as well as some other links to places that might be helpful to get like how-to tricks, if the actual steps of using the animation features in Keynote would be helpful. But I hope that is helpful, and I hope that this helps create engaging lessons that create some sense of continuity and help you emphasize concepts and keep kids engaged while you're doing your lessons, particularly in the days of remote teaching, but even beyond.